Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 3 of Giro d'Italia 2022. Now today's 200-kilometer stage, 125 miles. Pancake flat, really the only obstacle comes at 15 kilometers from the finish line. It's just over 2-kilometer climb and just about 2.5%. So it's not that steep. It's not going to be enough to break up the sprinters. And we know the sprinter teams are going to dictate today's race. Now, when the racing gets going, there's going to be 3 riders that go up the road. Bias Tagliani from Drone Harper were both in the break on stage 1, and then Samuel Rivi from Iolo Cometa will be the 3rd rider up there at today's breakaway and during stage 3. Now, these guys rolled off the front with no effort whatsoever. I mean, this is about as easy as it gets in terms of a breakaway getting away. Clearly, none of the teams want to be in the break today, and at 201-kilometer stage, they're already off at 200 and 950 meters or something like that. I mean, it was stage started. These 3 riders rolled off, and they gained about maximum time about 5 minutes, most of the time staying around 4 minutes. And then the big teams back there chasing. It's going to be Quick Step, Alpecin Phoenix, and Lotto Sudal on the front of the peloton, keeping the 3 riders really on a pretty close leash. Once we got down to 65 kilometers to go, that gap was 1 minute and 25 seconds, with 65 kilometers still to go on a 200-kilometer stage. So the peloton really gave these 3 riders no chance whatsoever on today's stage. And at no point in time did it really look like the breakaway rider, when they were 3 together, were putting in much effort on the pedals, and the field behind was pretty relaxed throughout the whole day. So one of the conversations on GCN network with the commentators was Robbie McEwen, my old teammate from Lotto days, and it was Sean Kelly. Now, Sean Kelly is a GC racer, of course, and Robbie McEwen, a pure sprinter. Sean Kelly was talking about how sprinters can take days off. Robbie McEwen was talking about how he doesn't ever remember a day off. Well, here, Robbie McEwen, I'm telling you, you had at least one day off, and I remember it vividly because when you came up to me, there was a break already up the road. A lot of the sprint points were taken away up the road, and you came up to me smiling, happy, just grinning from ear to ear about how you're going to take today off. Now, honestly, folks, sprinters really don't get that many days off either, but this one day he got off. So at least one day you got off during your Tour de France run of green jersey wear and point sprints and winning stages at the Tour de France, Robbie McEwen. But I can only recall one. Now, another quick story before I get back into here at stage 3 of Giro d'Italia with Robbie McEwen. One year, I was incredibly sick. I was at the back, first rider out the back, and I was in the gruppetto, and I had to fight to get up to the gruppetto. Got dropped on the very first climb, looked at the riders in the front, and knew I had to get up there. Got up there, and of course, it's most of my Lotto teammates up there with Robbie McEwen. Now, I was feeling the worst I've ever felt. I have never felt worse because I would have dropped out of the race any other race if it wasn't the Tour de France, feeling this bad. But because I'm at the Tour de France, I suffered miserably throughout this stage, and Robbie suffered almost as much as I did. I never seen a guy so angry when we're going so slow. If the pace picked up any at all on the climbs, he would start yelling at everyone. So I can back up his story 100% with the exception of that one day. The sprinters work hard on every day here. So Sean Kelly, they definitely work hard, but he had at least one day off, so he's not 100% correct either. Now, when we get back in today's stage, really the only action throughout today's stage, before the last 2 kilometers anyways, was the sprints. When we look at the breakaway, it was Tagliani winning the first sprint, and then in the field back there is Fernando Gaviria winning the sprints back there for the sprint leaders jersey, points jersey back there here at the Giro d'Italia. Clearly, Fernando Gaviria plans on staying here at this year's Giro d'Italia. Lotto Sudal's Caleb Ewan wasn't in the sprint, so we know he's going to be planning on going home at some point in time. Now, when we get back up to the action with about 15 kilometers to go, the breakaway riders were already wrapped up with about 30 kilometers to go. And now when we're coming up to this first, the only obstacle really here at today's stage 3 of the Giro d'Italia, the only obstacle as they hit the KOM, we're going to see a battle here from Pascal Enkhorn from Jumbo-Visma, and it's going to be Rick Zabel fighting it out for KOM points. The sprinter already is wearing the KOM jersey here on stage 3, and he wants to keep it. So as Enkhorn from Jumbo-Visma throws in an attack, it's Rick Zabel following on his wheel. And then Rick Zabel will lead it out a little bit too early before the KOM, and Pascal Enkhorn will take the KOM points here at stage 3, going over the top, gets about a 10-second gap at the summit of today's only KOM climb, and then continues to go solo up the road. Now behind in the field, with about 20 kilometers to go before we get to that climb, I got to point out that it's Movistar back there at the back of the peloton. Now, you've heard me say many times, there's never a reason to be at the back of the peloton, but here with a little tear in my eye, I'm going to point out that this is the only legitimate time that you should be at the back of the peloton, and it's the whole Movistar team back there, because their best placed rider, Alejandro Valverde, is already 32nd on the general classification, almost a minute back on GC. And the next best rider, Ivan Sosa, who got caught yesterday during the time trial stage, he is the next rider back, more than a minute and a half down on GC. So Movistar have the free card right here. The only time I will absolutely say on the butterfly effect that you're allowed to ride at the back is at this point in time, because Movistar clearly are not going to be here for general classification, and they don't have a sprinter, so you might as well stay out of trouble and get to the final mountains, get to the next mountain stages here at stage 4 when we get down to Italy. So if you ever hear me say you should never race at the back, this is the one point in time, just like Robbie McEwen's one point in time of rest day at the Tour de France, because there's always an exception to the rule. But this is the exception. Movistar riding at the back, I'm okay with 100% at this point in time. Now, let's get back up to the action, because with 6 kilometers to go, Inkhorn's going to get brought back in the peloton, and it's going to be curb to curb back there with all the sprinter teams and the GC teams trying to stay out of trouble, the GC guys, and the sprinter teams, of course, trying to win today's stage 3 finish. Now with 2 kilometers to go, it's Alpecin Phoenix on the left side of the road, and they're looking pretty good with their whole team set up there. We're going to see the Quick-Step team lined up right behind the Alpecin Phoenix team. With 1.7 kilometers to go, we're going to see some crazy knucklehead spectators. One guy with his camera in the road that leaves it there as we start seeing the Alpecin Phoenix rider pointing it out. Always dangerous at these speeds this close to the finish line to have anything in the road. If you're a fan sitting on the side, you gotta have the road completely clear. Right after the peloton misses that cameraman, it's a young kid right there waving to the cameras, and then realizes that the peloton's almost on top of him as he jumps back off the side of the road. With 1.5 kilometers to go, this is when Quick-Step start going to work, and they're shooting straight up the center of the peloton. Up front, Davide Ballerini is leading the Quick-Step train. He's got Bert van Leerberg second position, Michael Morkov third, and Mark Cavendish sitting fifth. Now, with 1.4 kilometers to go, it's Davide Ballerini solidly in the front of the peloton here, leading into the 1 kilometer to go banner. After 1 kilometer to go, this is going to be the tricky thing, and this is why you want to be at the front going under 1K to go. Ballerini knows the chicane is coming up. It's a roundabout that leads to the right. He'll fly through that. When he reaches that chicane, though, just before, we'll see him look left over his shoulder. He realizes he's got a clean road here for his Quick-Step train. This allows Ballerini to back off the throttle. Remember, folks, he's been on the front for 500 meters already against the best riders in the world here at Giro d'Italia. So now he knows with his experience, he can back off the throttle a little bit and get a little bit of rest. He'll come out of the chicane and then throw the gas back on. With about 800 meters to go, Davide Ballerini will pull off the front. He'll pull hard left. Alpecin Phoenix is on the left side now. Quick-Step is on the right. Bert van Leerberg starts to lose the advantage of the front of the peloton now to the Alpecin Phoenix train on the left side of the road. Only problem is for Alpecin Phoenix, at this point in time, they're a little discombobulated here because it's Alpecin Phoenix on the front, followed by UAE Team Emirates. Matthew van der Poel is on the right side of the UAE Team Emirates train with his sprinter back there. Marichko is just a little bit further back, so Alpecin Phoenix has got a little bit of problem here on the left side of the road. Bert van Leerberg will see him slide over to the left side of the road, and that'll squeeze the two teams together. Now on the right side, FDJ is starting their acceleration. They're starting to pass Mark Cavendish. Mark Cavendish will see him give a little bit of look to the right side with about 700 meters to go. At that point in time, FDJ stays on the throttle. Now they're starting to get up to the backside wheel of the famous leadout man Michael Morkov. Now we know Michael Morkov, he's one of the best in the world. At this point in time, either Cavendish is yelling to Michael Morkov or he feels the pressure from behind. But with about 550, 600 meters to go, he'll start a big acceleration off his leadout man in front of him, Bert van Leeuwenburg, because he knows at 500 meters to go, there's going to be a 200-meter descent that'll flatten out with about 300 meters to go. Michael Morkov gets on the accelerator, passes the FDJ train, pulling Mark Cavendish along on his wheel. FDJ still fighting on the right side of the road. Albacete Phoenix, UAE team members, Fernando Gaviria fighting on the left. With about 300 meters to go, Mark Cavendish will start his sprint. Guys, this is a long ways out to start your sprint. At 275 meters to go, Mark Cavendish is on the front of the peloton leading his sprint in full flight. With 100 meters to go, it's Mark Cavendish still in the lead. On his left, Fernando Gaviria. On his right is Arnaud Démare. Now, when I'm sitting on the couch, I'm starting to panic for the Max Missile because I got to believe his legs have got to start fading. Remember, he started his sprint with 300 meters to go. Now, 100 meters to go, he's still in the lead, and he gets on the afterburners to win here at stage 3. Arnaud Démare, FDJ, will finish second on the stage. Fernando Gaviria, UAE Team Emirates, will round out the podium for third. Caleb Ewan and Lotto Soudal, really, once we got under 2 kilometers to go, Lotto Soudal just lost it and their team just disbanded throughout the front of the peloton here. And then Caleb Ewan was left on his own throughout most of the finish with 2 kilometers to go. With 250 meters to go, Caleb Ewan was still 15, 18 guys back. Now, just at the line, he'll finish around top 10 here at stage 3. But we didn't get to see the battle that I really wanted between Caleb Ewan and Mark Cavendish on today's stage. But Mark Cavendish was something amazing here, leading it out with 300 meters to go. He had Michael Morkov setting him in perfect position. But at 300 meters to go, to jump at these speeds and hold off everyone back there was a fabulous ride. You gotta ask yourself when you're sitting on the couch right now watching the sprint finish with Mark Cavendish winning here at stage 3, you gotta ask yourself, how can Quick Step not take him to the Tour de France? How can you not take this rider that won 4 stages at last year's Tour de France, won 3 races already before here at the Giro d'Italia, and then wins the first straight up sprint here at the Giro d'Italia? How can you not take him to the Tour de France? If you're Quick-Step Patrick Lefevre, he's already got to be reshuffling the roster for the Tour de France to add Mark Cavendish to a shot, to give Mark Cavendish his shot at breaking the one-day stage race victory records at the Tour de France here in 2022 to overcome the legendary Eddie Merckx's record for the most victories at the Tour de France for stages. Now, when we look at the rest of the stage, all the GC riders finish safe on the wheels, won't lose any time. Tomorrow's a rest day, so all the riders will travel to Italy for stage 4 summit finish, 22 kilometers long, where we should see a big mix-up amongst the general classification favorites here at the Giro d'Italia. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll cover tomorrow with Beyond the Covers on the rest day here at the Giro d'Italia. And then, of course, I'll cover on the butterfly effect for stage 4. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys real soon.